Welcome to Forum 360, a global outlook with a local view. I'm your host, Pat Simons. In Northeast Ohio, we are fortunate to have exposure to all kinds of art and art mediums. Today, we're talking with two of the three local artists who have formed Uncommon Art Gallery and Studios in Hudson. Whenever I enter that space, it makes me smile. I want to welcome Dana Giel-Ray and Karen Koch. I also want to give a quick shout out to the third member of Uncommon Art, Shannon Casey, who's unable to be with us today. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I thought perhaps we could start off talking with each of you as individual artists to get to know you. And Karen, I thought we would start with you. I wonder if you tell us a little bit about your background in art and what are your favorite mediums to work with?
I've been an artist all my life. You know, my earliest memories are of holding a pencil and a piece of paper or crayons and sitting on the floor and drawing and coloring. My brother and sister will actually tell the stories, and I still hear about it, about all the times I made them sit still so I could draw them when we were little kids. It's always my favorite thing to do. So I majored in art, both art and English in college, and worked for art galleries for a couple of years after I got out of college. And then we hit a recession. So I took another job doing a different kind of writing, and after a little while I didn't paint anymore. You know, I got so busy, I was working a lot of hours and busy and just stopped, and I didn't paint or do any kind of artwork for a dozen years or so, and then I restarted it later. But I do painting. Lately, for maybe the past 10 years or so, I've been doing a lot of collage with paper and buttons and stitching and found objects. It's so much fun. It's so satisfying.
Oh, that's cool. What inspires you in your work?
Some of it is nature inspired. I do a lot of outdoor scenes, flowers, trees, and then sometimes I'll work in series on kind of more conceptual things, working on ideas. So I just finished a series on envelopes, you know, and thinking about envelopes as wrappers and containers. They're not the thing themselves, but they're meant to safely contain something and deliver it. And there's a little bit of metaphor for us, you know, what do we keep in, what do we let out, when do we choose to reveal things, that sort of ideas.
That's interesting. So what are you currently working on, and what are the things you would like to work on in the future?
I've got more trees I want to work on. I've been, you know, fall is a gorgeous time, right? Every time I look out the window or go outside, I'm taking pictures and trying to remember the colors and the shapes and the things like that. The envelope series may continue too. That's kind of interesting. It's coming up on Christmas, so I've got a bunch of clock towers too to work on. I do little paintings and collages of the clock towers as well. So
very popular.
Yeah.
Your studio is called Life Needs Art. Where does that come from?
That came from the time when I restarted my artwork after not having done it for so long. Something was just not right in my life. You know, I didn't feel good, my attitude wasn't right, and I realized my art was missing, so I started doing art again. And it was at that point I wanted to share it with my friends and family, and I thought I'd put up a little website, so I called it Life Needs Art because mine did. So
now, I've seen some of your artwork at the Summit Art Space where you have participated in juried art shows.
Yes.
Where are other places we might see your work?
I just had a show over at Hudson Fine Art and Framing. I enter juried shows throughout the region, so it just depends on where the show is. So I've had things out at Valley Art Center, Cuyahoga Valley Art Center. Next year, Shannon and I will be having a show up at the Cleveland Botanical Garden in the middle of summer.
So stand by, watch the website, and people should know your name. So when they're out and about, they see Karen Koch, they know.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. Dana, tell us a little bit about your background in art and what your favorite medium is to work in.
Like Karen, I've always dabbled in making things all my life. My grandmother was an artist herself, and she was my biggest supporter. And Sundays, sitting at the kitchen table and drawing, and both of us all together. And so yeah, I have a lot of support from my parents, my grandparents, and went to college, majored in studio art, ceramics, and jewelry. And the jewelry stuck with me, so I dabbled in it after college because I couldn't find a job anywhere. Went back to get my teaching certificate to teach and really didn't want to do that. Ended up in a corporate job, which was okay. Took a lot of time. And then Karen and I were around and talking and decided to start.
Take the plunge.
Yes.
I think I'm hearing a theme here. You went off the track of art, and we're missing it terribly.
Yes.
Time to come back.
Yeah.
What inspires you in your work?
Wow. Nature and history, I guess.
History.
Probably
That's
a lot of history. I'm a big history buff.
In any particular time in history?
1860s.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a Civil War reenactor.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, so big influence in the Victorian age.
Very cool. What are you currently working on, and what are some future projects you may be doing?
I just work one piece at a time. I'm working in chainmail, which is the technique, and it's just like the armor. And I start with wire. I make all my own rings, and I weave them all together.
Wow. And you also started
time consuming. So
wow,
yeah, this
it's
is
very intricate.
This is actually the same weave that all the armor is made from.
And that is silver?
That's sterling silver.
What are these pieces, the pendant part?
Well, this is fine silver, and I recently got into precious metal clay, which is fine silver or sterling silver particles mixed with the binder and water. So it's clay-like and works just like clay. So my ceramics background comes in handy.
You were also doing some enameling.
Yes.
So you've really expanded your horizons on your jewelry. Your studio is called Bellabor. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Where did that come from?
Well, when I was looking for a name, and I was bored at my corporate jobs, so I was doing some anagrams of names and didn't like anything that had my name in it, so I put my two cats in, Boris and Bella.
Oh, how funny.
So it's named after Boris and Bella.
I won't be able to look at that again without visualizing those cats. Now, I know that you do various art shows on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Where are some other places we can see your art?
I just had 3 pieces up at the Skull and Skeleton show up at Lakeland Community College. I've had pieces at Valley Arts Center. I think that's about it,
Well,
right?
and the other thing is we do outdoor art fairs too. So
Okay.
Yeah.
you know,
So in both cases, it's really important that people know your name so they could see you in a lot of different
Yeah.
places.
we just got back from a show in Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh,
2
okay.
weeks ago,
2
weeks ago, I don't know.
So you could be on vacation and see
yeah,
you, right?
exactly. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention your third partner, Shannon Casey, briefly, and just ask you how would you describe Shannon's art?
Shannon does oil painting and figure painting. She does a lot of portrait painting, so she'll do charcoal sketches or oil paintings of figures. A lot of her artwork is based on stories, so Bible stories or mythology, or stories that she's invented, stories she's sort of written in her own head and based on things happening around her. She's also done a lot with constellations and the night sky. She's very influenced by stars in the night sky.
So out and about, look for Shannon Casey. Collectively, I have found that you 3 artists have a great sense of humor and fun. Can you describe how that comes through in your art and in your gallery atmosphere?
Well, we all have our own serious work that we do. Like I talked about my envelope series, which is sort of the complex, challenging, really rich, satisfying stuff that we do, but we do have a sense of humor. Like Shannon, she's influenced by the night sky, so she does a whole series of painting, lots of little paintings with the moon. So, man in the moon, she does paintings with faces in the moon. So they might be sticking their tongue out or winking at you or wearing
About to
sunglasses.
explode.
Yeah, dressed up like a pirate, charming, funny, and they glow in the dark. So they're really funny. I do little clock towers, and I've done plenty of clock tower paintings and collages and things like that. But I've got a series going on like this one that's what if famous artists came to Hudson and were so inspired by the clock tower they had to paint it. So imagine Picasso or Monet had come to town and had to paint the clock tower. This one, of course, is based on the Scream, but I've got a whole series of those, and they're pretty amusing. So,
And I know that Dana sometimes veers away from jewelry and does little magnets that are pretty funny. Are those your magnets?
No,
those are all of ours.
Oh, you
Those
do
were a
those
collab.
together.
We
Yeah.
did those all together.
yeah.
Your humor shines through in
Yeah.
that, and your atmosphere always feels very light and friendly, and I think that says a lot about you. So you've really created this space for creativity, and and it's fun. And I find it very interesting that even though you are so collegial in your approach, you do very much retain identities as artists, and you keep individual studios in the space. So how do people how did you find each other? How did you find each other and decide to create this space?
We've known each other all for a long time through Hudson Society of Artists, because we've all been members for a long time and we've all lived in Hudson for a long time. Dana and I are neighbors across the street.
Yes.
Oh.
So
Yes. Yes. So we had a fire one night and told Karen, come on over and have a beer, and we sat around the fire, and then we just started talking about, I wish I was a professional artist, and she's like, I wish I was a professional artist.
So prior to this, though, you were all had separate galleries and separate buildings, right?
We had corporate
No, we had-
jobs.
but
Shannon had a studio for a long
Okay.
time. She had a studio over by Storage Zone, but Dana and I were working corporate jobs.
Oh, okay. Then how did you
Yeah.
find Shannon? Through the Hudson
Yeah,
artists?
we've been
Oh,
friends for a
okay.
long time.
So
yeah.
you really lucked out finding each other, and
Yeah.
Well, when we
sharing a
decided
vision.
to do this, Dana and I left our corporate jobs and we found studio space up on Main Street in a different building.
that's
and we
what I
were
was
up,
thinking
Yeah,
of,
we were up
yes.
on the second floor, and we did that for a couple of years, and then walked by the building where we were in now and realized, wait a minute, there's a for rent sign up in that window. Let's check it out. And it's big enough that it could hold the three of us, so we invited Shannon to join us.
Oh, that's awesome. This is Forum 360, and I'm your host, Pat Simons. We're talking with artists of Uncommon Art Gallery and Studios in Hudson, Ohio. The artists with us today are Dana Giel-Ray and Karen Koch. So I wonder if I think the space you have is a bit unique in terms of availability in Hudson. Can you describe your space, where you're located, and what the space is like?
Well, we're right on the corner of Main and Clinton, and we're above the Hudson Oriental Rugs. And
Yeah, it's a great space. I mean, it is second floor, and it's in one of those old buildings in town. It was built in 1833.
Oh, wow.
So it has its quirks. We're only accessible by stairs, but it's been all kinds of things over the years. We did a little research, Shannon did some research for us about what else had been in the space, and it's been everything from an apartment to a dentist office to restaurants to
an art studio at one
an
time.
art studio. It's been a hair salon, the Shangri-La beauty salon.
oh
you know,
my
A
gosh.
tea room too, I
Yeah.
believe.
A tea room.
Yeah.
Oh.
so
Well, you kind of follow that tradition. You do offer refreshments for special events, right? So you have space for your studios. You have display space, but you also do classes. So you have
Yes.
classroom space as well. You are on the second floor. It is in a historic building. Is there access for everyone who would want to come up?
no, unfortunately, we only have the stairs. That's
Okay.
all we have. So
Well, we just wouldn't want anybody to be disappointed if they
yeah.
came.
Yeah.
Are there opportunities for people to converse and meet with you outside of the gallery that might? You do things at the library and
yeah,
that sort
I've
of thing.
done a number of classes at the library, which has been wonderful.
So there's other
and
opportunities.
other opportunities.
Yeah.
I do painting parties too, like the paint
Okay.
and sip type parties, and we can
Okay.
do those at people's homes or at
Oh,
restaurants and things
okay.
like that.
So there's other
And
ways to.
Shannon
to
teaches
paint.
outside too. So
Your website has some pictures of some of your work on it as well, so people can get an idea. So besides selling and creating art, what else do you do with your gallery, your studio gallery?
Well, we do classes like you mentioned, and the parties. We have a book club that meets on the second Tuesday of every month, and we read art, travel, food-related books. It's an informal group, you know, you just show up, and we usually have snacks. And, it's a nice group. We've got about maybe a dozen or so who kind of come and go every month. But
Oh, that's awesome. And your paint parties, what does that entail?
these are the social painting parties. Shannon and I both do them. We get together with a group and we all paint the same painting. I walk you through it step by step. So even if you haven't picked up a paintbrush since grade school, it's okay. We can walk you through
end up with a masterpiece at the end?
Yes.
Wow.
It's really fun because I get people who are very technical, analytical, haven't painted since they were kids, and they're panicked about it. And by the time they're done, they're like, I can't believe I did that. It looks great. They take them home and they actually hang them on the wall.
Well,
So-
Hudson's also very lucky. We started this art hop on Friday nights. Do you participate in the art hop?
Yes.
Yes, we're some of the organizers.
Oh, awesome.
So it's second Fridays of the month. This year we ran April through August. We have a encore coming up in December, on December 8th, which is the holiday hop. So it's shops and galleries all over town. We go from us, kind of at the north end of town, Learned Owl, Fair Trade, Hudson Fine Art and Framing, Suburban Sit, and a few other places. The Red Twig, which is a little further down 91, participates.
And it has its own website, so if you want to see the schedule for the art hop, you can always do that
Yes.
as well. You also host guest artists and trunk shows. Is that, how often do those rotate through?
Sporadically.
Okay.
We're artists.
Yeah,
So you have a current guest artist right now, don't
We
you?
have a couple,
Yeah.
We have two. One is Dawn Gettig. She actually paints on tea bags.
Oh,
So she drinks the tea, takes the tea out, and paints on the tea bags, and they're really cute.
I'll be darned.
And
And
then
are they frameable?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
very interesting. I know you've done clothing lines.
we still have some of the clothing with from Linda Ackerman. She's Paper Rose Designs altered couture. So she takes vintage clothing, takes it apart, puts it back together in different ways, and it's wonderful. It's adorable and comfortable. And
Very popular,
Yeah.
I think. You have a sketching happy hour?
yeah.
That
Yeah.
sounded very interesting.
Yeah. I get together with a group of folks on Friday mornings normally to sketch, and we go different places, coffee shops. If the weather's nice, we go outside. But starting back in the spring, we decided we've got all these wonderful outdoor spaces. The weather's getting nice. Let's go outside and have happy hours. So once a month, we get together at a different place and we take our sketchbooks and we actually do sketch. So we have happy hour, but we actually do sketch too. So
This is a very busy place. You've
Yeah.
got a lot of offerings. And what is the age range of the people who you would work with in terms of classes? And
school age and up. Kind of our sweet spot is like the tweens and up.
Okay.
So we're really good with, tweens and teenagers and adults.
Oh, okay. So anyone who has a child in middle school age group would like exposure, this would be a good place.
Yes.
That's very cool. What kind of upcoming events are happening for you?
We've got.
You did mention a couple.
I did
but-
mention the Art Hop. We do have, this month, of course, is Thanksgiving. So the Friday after Thanksgiving is Come to Hudson for the Holidays, which is sponsored by Merchants of Hudson and Destination Hudson. So that's all over town. And then the Saturday of that weekend is Small Business Saturday. So we'll be participating in that too.
Can you describe small business? Or shop small? What is that concept?
Shop local.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not franchise,
Not franchise, not
big
big box
box.
stores. Shop the local small business.
Black Friday is all about the big box stores, So the Shop Small Business Saturday was designed to balance that with.
And I'm sorry, did you tell us when that was in Hudson? Or is it in Hudson?
It's national.
it's
The
national.
Small
Okay.
Business Saturday is sponsored by American Express. It was started by them, so
okay.
it's small businesses everywhere.
Okay, and that is the Saturday after
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Okay, so people can come.
Yep.
That gets them out and has
And we'll
them
have little
exposed.
refreshments and little giveaways and
It's a
things.
happy place.
Yeah. Food fuels creativity,
It
right?
does. It does. Well, you've brought samples of your art, and I want to make sure we have some time to discuss them. Dana, you want to start off talking about what you brought today?
Well, I brought my one piece, and it's sterling silver, and I've made every piece of this. The chain part starts with wire. I take the wire, I wind the wire around steel rods. I get long coils, I cut the coils apart, and I get thousands of tiny little rings that I weave together.
Oh my goodness. And this is the part you're talking about, the
Yeah,
clay, the fine
Right.
metal.
This is so I textured the clay, and then afterwards I fire it in a kiln at 1,650 degrees, and when it comes out, it's pure silver.
You're not keeping a kiln on site at the studio.
No, it's at home.
It's at home.
Old building,
old
old
building.
wire, yeah.
Yeah.
What is the clasp in the back?
The clasp is it's a really simple hook clasp that I've made, and it's finished off on the edges.
And you've
it's
done that
very
same
simply.
embossed.
Yep.
It's
And
very
also has a little
Wow.
dangle on them. Yep.
Now
So,
you don't just work in silver. What else do you work in?
I work also in copper and gold filled,
Well, and then you also enamel, as you
and I
mentioned.
do some enameling. Yes.
Karen, you want to talk about a little bit about your work?
I do. I have a piece over here on the floor. I do collage and mixed media a lot. I do also do acrylic painting, but the collage has been taking a lot of my time lately. It's been really interesting and satisfying to do. This is one of my pieces from my Roots and Roads series. So I've been thinking about, knowing where your roots are and staying grounded as you grow and change. So there's a little bit of a pathway along here. There's old dictionary pages, papers that I've painted and altered. Has some buttons from my grandmother's button box and some yarn and things like that. So,
Very cool. And I wanted you to show us the Hudson clock series samples of those too, if you would.
I've brought this one. This is obviously inspired by the Scream, Munch. This is inspired by Roy Lichtenstein, who did all the little dots in the comic book styled artwork. They're fun. I've done one as a cave painting. There's Picasso, Cubist thing. Magritte, Warhol, Banksy, those kinds of things.
And besides the originals, you also sell prints.
I do prints as well. Yeah.
Can you describe a little bit about Shannon's work? You have a sample of that here.
One of Shannon's paintings, now like we talked about, she's inspired by the night sky and constellations. This is the Pleiades at play. So she's given them personalities and imagined, what if they just took the night off? Instead of, guiding us in the sky, what if they took the night off and just played and had some fun? So she's done that quite a bit. There's a very large piece at the studio called Night Song where she's thought about where do the constellations go in the morning when the night's over. And so she has them all lined up and parading off at the end of the night as they go take their rest. So.
Well, people have to go and see these things for themselves. Are you all open to commission, to pieces being commissioned? So someone could approach you, see your work and say, I like this, could you do this with this?
Well, you just finished a nice one for a bride.
I did, yeah. I had a bride that came in and brought her grandmother's pearls and says, I need a pendant for it. And
you created the pendant.
so I created the pendant to go over with the pearls.
I think that's a really big important part of your work, to see what you do and then just see how you might have it done for you. And I think that's important. People maybe don't always think about commissioning pieces. I wanted to make sure that we get the information about where you're located. Can you give us your website?
The
Karen?
website is uncommonarthudson.com. And we have a Facebook page that's also Uncommon Art Hudson.
And what is your studio?
Mine
website?
is Life Needs Art, and I'm lifeneedsart.com.
Okay, and Dana, your website?
Is bellabor.com.
Okay, and Shannon's is ShannonCaseyStudio.com. I just want to repeat that you are at 178 and a half North Main Street. You are a half because you're on the second floor,
Right.
and that is located in Hudson. And you're at the corner of Clinton and Main Street,
Yes.
which is also 91. And there is a rug store in the bottom, a rug gallery, and you
Yes.
are above it. It's been a pleasure having you. Do you have
I
any
appreciate
closing
it.
remarks that you would like to make?
Well, I appreciate you having us. This has
Oh,
been
thank you for
fun.
having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, I think that given the range of art that you also offer is kind of unique, and you have such individual approaches to the art. So I'm hoping that we get some exposure
Thanks.
for
Yeah,
you too.
yeah. You know, we are open Tuesday through Saturday, regular hours, and we love for people to come in and see what we're working on. That's kind of one of the nice parts about having a public studio is people can just watch what we're doing.
Oh, now
You know.
that's another aspect of it, isn't it? Live studio.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank the artistic duo Dana Giel-Ray and Karen Koch of Uncommon Art Gallery and Studios in Hudson for sharing their art, their inspirations, and aspirations. I hope you will take time, especially during the holiday season, to check them out. They are guaranteed to make you smile. It's a happy place. This is Pat Simons for Forum 360, a global outlook with a local view. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Forum 360 is brought to you with support from Electric Impulse Communications, Kim and Harvey Nelson, Rubber City Radio Group, Acronist.com, Hudson Cable, Medical Mutual of Ohio, Forum 360 supporters, and the Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron.